we have the queen, our most anticipated player, our most anticipated piece in the game, the queen. The queen is the most powerful piece that you have in chess. There's only one of them, but the queen is actually a combination, as you learned in the very beginning, is a combination of the rook and the bishop, because the queen can move on any diagonal and on any rank and file. Okay? And that's how the queen moves. Any rank and file, any diagonal. So, with the queen being right there, can you picture in your mind the range of possibilities? How many squares are there on this board that the queen cannot cover from her current position? There's not too many if you think about it. There's a lot of different opportunities that we have for the queen. Now, one of the limitations of the queen is it cannot jump over any other pieces like the horse can or the knight. So that's one thing that I've seen, one mistake that I've seen some people make is that they think it can jump over pieces. Nope, the knight is the only piece that can jump over other pieces, but the queen is still considered the most powerful because of the number of pieces or the number of squares that it can cover on the chessboard. So let's set up a scenario where we talk about how to best use the queen in a game. Now let's look at the setup right here. I really like this example here because it demonstrates what the queen is and what the queen can do. Now in my mind, if I was to make up a rule for the queen, it would be this, that just because you can doesn't mean that you should. The queen is the most powerful piece, and even though it can take out a piece and not be affected, maybe you should look a little bit at your strategy and see if that's something that you should do. And I might also add that that's good advice in life or anything that you do, that just because you can doesn't mean that you should. So it's white's move on this piece, on this setup right here, and look at what the queen can do right now. At this point, the queen can move along the diagonal and take out this rook right here. And he could do it. It wouldn't really change the game too much. But there's something that you always need to do is see if there's, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And you should ask yourself some questions that we'll go over a little bit later. Is this the best move? Well, the queen decides to do something, or white decides to do something different. Instead of taking the rook down there, he does something better. He comes up with a plan. Moves down here. Instead of taking the rook, not just jumping at the chance to win another piece, he plans and says, look, I'm going to put the king in check right here. Check. And the king says, oh, I didn't expect you to do that. Oh, man, what do I do now? The king can't go right here because of this guy. He can't go right here because of that guy. His only option is to move to the back. And white simply laughs and says, well, I guess he wouldn't do that because he'd still be in check. He moves to right there. Well, white simply laughs and says, now I will take your rook. Oh. And takes out the rook right there and says, check again. Now, if he'd just taken out the rook the first time, the queen could have taken the bishop and, well, white could have done nothing to stop it. But at this point, the king is in check and he has to move somewhere back to here. And white has time to get back to this position to protect the bishop. Now, we won't go any further than that. But this is a significant example because anytime you can take a piece without one of your pieces being taken, you have just gained a significant advantage over your opponent. If we'd done it the first way, where he just took out the rook, then this piece would have been exposed, the bishop would have been exposed, and it would have been a trade for a trade. Yeah, I mean, it would have been a slight advantage because he took out a rook and he only lost a bishop, and that's a slight advantage. But this way was a significant advantage because he took out the rook without losing any of his pieces. And that's what you want to shoot for. Now go break out that chessboard and see what you can devise, what you can do against your opponent, whether it be a computer or whether it be a person. Focus on your queen this time. Remember, the queen is best saved till later in the game, when you're towards the end of the middle game and you need to bring it out. Don't bring out the queen too early. The queen is best used toward the end side of the middle game.